Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2510. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. I think something pretty cool happens there every year on a racetrack with a very special guest by the name of Chad Schnitz. Chad, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have it in gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
Let's do this.
All right, we're going to have some fun. Now, before I introduce you and we get into the company you're part of, what's one little thing that people may not know about you, Chad?
Weird things. So
I like it.
I have been a lifetime Boy Scout. So I got in first grade and I went all the way through Eagle Scout in Boy Scouts. And now my kids are in Scouts as well. So I am 30 plus years in scouting and absolutely love the outdoors and love getting out into nature. So that's been a big part of my life.
That's very cool and fun to have kids now that are in it as well, so you can share your adventures when you were a kid and teach them all that fun stuff about enjoying the outdoors, taking care of it, survival, all that kind of stuff. Very cool. I love it. Now, the Scouts, I remember they have badges that they get for different things. Is there an automotive, mechanical badge?
Yes, absolutely. So I actually became an instructor for that merit badge. So automotive maintenance is what it's all about, and it's just making sure that the Scouts have the life skills to be able to do automotive maintenance, whether it be understanding what a fuse does and how it works, to understanding the different car systems, changing a tire. It's amazing how many youth can't change a tire.
I know, it's crazy.
Just going through and understanding how a car works and the things you need to do to make sure it maintains and stays working, or if you get yourself in a bad spot, how to get yourself out.
Yeah, I think that's so important. You know, back in the day when I was in school, they had auto shop and mostly the boys did that. There were some girls in the classroom. There's just some basic stuff that you can get yourself out of a lot of trouble versus being stuck on the side of the road and relying on your cell phone and waiting and waiting and waiting. So I'm really glad that they're still doing that, especially in the Scouts. I wish the schools would do it, but oh, well.
Yep, I'm willing to fill in that gap. That's no problem.
There you go. All right. So let me give you an introduction here. Chad Schnitz is the vice president at TopDon, a leader in diagnostics for auto repair and the industry. They recently launched several new pieces of diagnostic equipment, thermal imaging units, and EV charging products and chargers. Chad and his team have grown the business exponentially, working with some of the largest distributors in the United States. They have earned TopDon USA multiple vendor awards, Motor Top 20 awards, design awards, and more. Chad has a diverse background in the automotive industry, having worked as a tech, sales, training, and a unique blend of automotive hands-on knowledge in the tool and equipment industry, and teaching our youth how to get themselves out of trouble on the side of the road. We'll be back in just a moment, but first a word from our sponsors, so give them a little love, and we'll be right back. Buckle up. For several years now, you've heard me talk about Linkage Magazine. I've been a subscriber since the start. Their talented and creative team brings you a spectacular publication and website that shares the automotive passion from a worldwide perspective. Linkage is about driving, restoring, collecting, and first-hand experience at collector car auctions and more. They bring you real-world values plus rational, experienced opinions on the current markets. They cover the automotive world and the people who share our passions. And Linkage Magazine has grown, mailing you 6 issues annually. Join me on this journey with Linkage. They're geared for the automotive life. You can subscribe at linkagemag.com. Today's vehicles are essentially computers on wheels, and it takes more than a wrench and oil to keep them humming. That's why Cars Yeah supports TechForce Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to driving tomorrow's workforce of skilled technicians forward. Techs keep our cars, trucks, airplanes, and fleets rolling. Yet there's a massive tech shortage because many young people don't know it's no longer a blue-collar job. Today, it's a new-collar career. It involves computers, technology, it's in high demand, you get paid really well, and you can live and work anywhere in the country. I know you're passionate about cars, trucks, and motorcycles, and you can help pass that passion on to the next generation of techs so our rides keep rolling down the road. Visit techforce.org today and learn how. So, Chad, we are back. So I want to, before we get into Top Don and all the things that you guys do, because you have some very, very cool products, many I'm very familiar with, I want to go back a little bit to what got you to this place, because here at Cars Yeah, we're all about people who figured out how to wrap their passion and their jobs into what they love, and that's the automotive sector. What brought you to this place where you're at now with Top Don?
I'm always fascinated by people's career paths. How do you get to where you are and what you do? And mine, I guess, unique, but not really. So I started out going to college for high performance automotive. I thought, I'm going to do race cars. I'm going to go fast and I'm going to burn a lot of tires off. And that's what I'm going to do. And right out of college, I got a job at a company called Exotic Performance. And what we did was we did Ferraris, we did Lamborghinis, we did Corvettes, Camaros, we did a lot of superchargers, a lot of suspension. I got to drive a lot of awesome cars and do a lot of fast stuff, tuning, all that kind of stuff. And it was right around that 2008 timeframe. So I don't know if you remember what happened in 2008.
Yeah,
so
I remember.
We were living the high life, just blowing money like it was nothing, lighting it on fire, blowing tires off. And then all of a sudden, discretionary income kind of went by the wayside. So that company didn't last very long because of that. Not a lot of Ferraris to work on in the Fort Wayne market. So I decided, hey, let's go to the big city and let's move down to Indianapolis. And I got a job in sales. And I was like, okay, I have all this automotive knowledge. I can fix cars. But you know what? I know how to talk to people too. So I actually got into automotive parts sales, working in a parts store, and worked my way up through the parts store. And I was able to kind of find my niche, which was tools and equipment. I was really good at tools and equipment because I know how to use them. And I was in a shop and people would say, oh, I have this challenge. I'm like, oh, have you tried this? Have you heard of this tool? Because I've used them before. And that kind of got me into the world of diagnostics and automotive thermal imaging and EVs and all that kind of stuff. So it was that path that kind of led me to this point where I am of running a global company. Basically, I run the US division for automotive tools and equipment. And I get to use my passion, but also my experience to say, hey, this is how a technician actually uses this tool. And this is what we need to do to make it easier for the shop to be able to utilize it.
Perfect. You're a great success story here, because talk about, you got right into your field of passion. You wanted to get into high performance cars. And then, of course, that terrible economic downturn that really caught a lot of people off guard. And I think a lot of young people that had never experienced it. I've been around a lot longer than you, so I've been through several of those. And it teaches you, when you go through the first one, that old saying, save for a rainy day, the rain will come. There'll be another one, and it's just a matter of, are you prepared for it? And then the fact that you went, as some may say, well, maybe you took a step back, you went into sales, working, in parts stores, but you worked your way back up and you kept that niche, and look where you sit now. So my hat's off to you. Absolutely fantastic. Top Don. Let's talk about Top Don, because you guys are the leaders in diagnostics for auto repair, for the industry. I know that you just launched some new products. And I looked through your website. Can we talk about the different categories that you offer? And one that I'm very familiar with are chargers, remote chargers, carry chargers. And I sold those in the company I was part of years ago, but they were big and giant and heavy and very difficult to use. Everything's condensed now. It's much better, if you will, because of technology and so forth. And the same with EV charging. So walk us through the different products that you guys offer. And I know many of your products are available not only to people in the industry that work in the industry, but also us folks at home, do-it-yourselfers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we focus on multiple different variations of the automotive industry. We do tools from $20 all the way up to $30,000. So depending on what you want to accomplish, we have the tools that may be able to fit your need. So when we're talking about battery charging, the systems in cars nowadays are so intelligent and so diverse that your normal buzz box roller charger that you yank out in the driveway with a long extension cord may not be the right thing for you anymore, because lithium batteries now are in cars. AGM is very popular in stop-start cars, and all those things take different charging styles. So we've developed a line of battery chargers that are intelligent, that can be used to not only charge the batteries and systems, but also to maintain them. If you have toys at home like side-by-sides and motorcycles that you don't get to use as much as you want to, boats, for instance, we can maintain those as well. And as we started growing this side of the industry in the battery charging, we're like, well, what about EVs? I mean, we're getting more and more hybrids on the road. We're getting full electrics. And then we started to get into that EV side of battery charging for plug-in hybrids and full EVs. So now we do everything from a 1.2 amp battery charger up to a 240 kilowatt high-speed DC charger for a parking lot. So it's a pretty wide breadth of product that comes to the charging side. But also, you can't just think about the battery charging. We have to think about battery testing, battery maintaining, and all that aspect of it as well. So we have battery testers. We have tools that can reset the battery management system in the cars. So there's a lot of aspects to the battery side of the cars nowadays.
Yeah, it's gotten a bit more complicated. Back in the day of the old ICE engines, I mean, I had cars for years that were more collectible cars and things like that, motorcycles I didn't ride in the winter, and I had them on battery chargers to keep them maintained. But now you've got EVs, and that's a question I have for you, and it may show my ignorance about EVs because I don't have one. I've driven a few, is do you need to keep not their main battery packs, but the battery that they do have like another car, keep that charged if it's a car that sits for a long time, or is that not needed for those kinds of vehicles?
Well, so when we think about most, if not all, that I can think of hybrids or EV cars, yes, they have their high voltage battery pack, but they also have a normal 12 volt battery in that car as well, because that's what maintains all the comfort systems is 12 volts. So an EV or a hybrid doesn't have an alternator. It only has its main battery pack, and then it uses a step-down inverter to be able to charge the 12-volt battery. So if you have an EV that sits for a while, if that main battery pack is depleted, that main battery pack is what charges your 12-volt. So
gotcha. Yeah.
Now you lost both batteries. So you don't really need to have a trickle charger on an EV if it's plugged in to maintain the high voltage battery. So that kind of maintains itself that way.
Now, some of the other products that you sell get much, much more complicated. So let's kind of walk through some of those. And some of them you recently just launched, including thermal imaging units, which is pretty cool, diagnostic equipment, which is pretty cool. But even some do-it-yourselfers can use some of this kind of equipment at home, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the thermal imaging side, let's step back a second here. If we're talking about thermal imaging, basically what we're doing is we're taking heat and turning it into an image. So you can now see heat, whether it be an animal on your property or whether it be a cold air draft that's coming into your house. That's what a thermal imaging camera can see. In automotive, we can use it on exhaust, we can use it on bearings, brakes, engine misfires, heating and cooling, all kinds of different stuff. And it's always been a barrier to entry when it comes to thermal imaging because it was crazy expensive. That was like government stuff.
Yeah, right.
And now we have gotten this technology down to the point where it's a plug-in for your cell phone, and your cell phone now can become a thermal imaging camera, and you're spending less than $250 to do that. So it's become very obtainable, but it's one of those tools that you go, man, how did I ever live without this? Because you can use it on anything around the property.
Oh, sure.
Checking your house. Checking for leaks, checking for plumbing. I have in-floor heating in my shop, and I wanted to put a lift in. I want to make sure I don't hit my in-floor tubing, so I can use it for that. We can point it at my wife to see that she has a cold heart. You can point at me to say that I'm hot all the time.
He's
So
joking.
like that.
He's joking.
I'm just joking.
That's funny. That's a good. I haven't heard that one yet. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I have one of those old like red dot laser things, and I was just using it the other day because we have an oven issue and trying to figure out why is this one heating element, is it not working right, is it not going up, and sure enough that was the problem and was able to fix it. But your equipment is much, much more technical than that.
Oh yeah, think about a seat heater and how it has a grid in the seat heat. So you can push the seat heater on and you can use our thermal camera to see that grid inside the fabric to see, oh, there's where it's broken. And that's what needs to be fixed. So you can identify those things pretty quick.
Yeah, we have that problem. We tend to buy cars new and keep them for a long, long time. And my wife's car is 19 years old. Mine's 20 years old. And her seat heater, which she loves, especially, well, you guys get some cold weather there in Indiana, but we do too in the wintertime. And the bottom part of her seat heater stopped working. And that's what I was asking them. I go, how do you check this? And the BMW dealership, and they had thermal imaging. And it was cool when they did that. I went, oh, there. The back, you can see all the wires, if you will, but the bottom one. And he said typically after 19 years of crawling into the car, that thing gets kinked and it breaks. So there you go. Unfortunately, in her car, it was molded into the foam, so they had to replace the entire bottom part of the seat. I couldn't believe BMW still had brand new seat bottoms for a car that was 19 years old. Kudos to them. What else can we look forward to seeing at Top Don?
So I think our next biggest line of products coming out is in the mid-level diagnostic tools. Even as just a home DIY, if I want to do an oil change on my car, you have to have a diagnostic tool now. To be able to do brakes on the back of a car, you have to have a tool to be able to retract the electronic parking brakes. So it's crazy. The normal maintenance things that we used to think of now require a diagnostic tool.
Yeah, cars are they're moving computers.
Oh, absolutely. If we look at your BMW, even though it's 19 years old, you probably have 40 different computers in that car.
Oh my gosh. Don't tell me that, because now they're going to start breaking.
Well, it is a BMW. That's what they do.
No, now be nice. Be nice.
Oh,
I've had very good luck with BMWs, and actually these two vehicles have been just stellar. I'm so happy with both. That's why we kept them so long. I mean, other than regular maintenance, only her car, a few things have just worn out. But in that seat, of course, but that's just crawling in and out of a seat. I mean, it's going to happen, but they've been very good cars. But I understand your point. It's gotten more complicated, but the thing that's kind of cool is with this kind of equipment, even an at-home do-it-yourselfer can learn to use it and diagnose things and figure out how to fix things, which is very cool.
Yeah, we've really simplified the process. And one of our newest releases is called a Top Scan. And this is actually it's about the size of an old flip phone. And this plugs into your diagnostic port, which is usually right underneath your steering wheel. And it gives us as home consumers or DIYers the ability to access that vehicle and to see what it's thinking. We can read the codes, we can clear codes, we can see live data, but we still have the ability to do all those service functions as well directly from that tool. And this all pairs with your phone. So now we're using the power of your phone to be able to do this diagnostics. And maybe it's something that you go, hey, this is over my head. I've Googled it. It's not something I can do. But when you go into a shop, you can talk to them intelligently and let them know what you found and what the car is doing. And that way they have a direction to go right away.
Yeah, and that's so important many times. Now, if I've had great service from my dealership and friends here that work on some of my other cars that aren't BMWs, and I trust them. But lots of times you kind of wonder, I just had a plumber come to my house to quote doing something, and what he quoted was ridiculous. And so I went on YouTube and did a little research, and you know what? I fixed the thing really quickly. It was something that I didn't know how to do, but I learned how to do it, and I saved myself over $1,000. And I almost wanted to call a guy and say, all you had to do was this. How can it cost so much to do? And it's the same with cars sometimes. So you guys are arming people with intelligence. That's the way I look at it.
Right, absolutely. We want to give the consumer options, but also we want to educate at the same time, because the more we understand about the car and the more we understand about what's going on with it, the better we can communicate if it's something we want to take to a shop. And I think that mechanics in the past have gotten a bad rap, just like your plumber example of, oh, they're just going to take advantage of me.
Well, nobody likes to have their car fixed. Nobody enjoys that, right?
So if we can give them information to go in there armed and say, hey, I think it's the fuel system, that kind of points everybody in the right direction, make sure that everybody's talking the same language.
Absolutely. I think it's cool. Now, Top Don, the website for you guys here in the U.S., topdon.us, but you said this is a worldwide company. So where is it headquartered and where did it all come from?
Yeah, so we have offices in all the major continents. We're in South America. We just opened an office in Spain. Our main office is just outside of Hong Kong, and we manufacture all over Asia. So We're pretty much all over the place, major, worldwide, global. All of our tools will work on cars in all the different major markets as well. So even if we're working on vehicles in the British Virgin Islands, they get a lot of weird stuff down there that we don't see in the continental U.S. So our tools will still work on those as well.
I like to ask my guests about what inspires them or who inspired them along the way to their success. You're a relatively young guy to be in the role that you're in. Is there somebody like that in your life that was very influential?
Yeah, it goes back to my dad. And the funny part about my dad is when I was growing up in high school, I think we counted at one time he had 7 different paying jobs.
7. Wow.
7. Yeah. And it was crazy because we're looking at this guy going, why do you do all this? And he had that work ethic, right? And he was like, well, I have the talent, I have the ability, let's go do this to be able to keep the family going and to keep me and Scouts, because that's not cheap. So he's always been kind of that guiding light of, hey, let's figure it out. We know we can figure this out. Let's go do it ourselves. And let's go do whatever it takes. So he's always been that guy that I've always focused on.
Well, fortunate. I do hear that a lot from my guests here is their fathers or grandfathers or maybe an uncle in their life. But, there are a lot of kids that don't have fathers in their lives or fathers that just are absent. And so you are very fortunate, as I was. And so you have more than one child, or do you have a son, I know?
I have 3 that I know of. I got 2 girls and a boy.
Okay. Smart guy. Well, that's a big household. So kudos to you for being a great father. How about challenges? One of the things that I like to say is challenges are no fun to go through, but they do define us. And more importantly, if you look at them correctly, they teach us really, really valuable lessons. Don't touch that fire. You'll burn your hand. Okay. So what was a great challenge that you went through in your career, or it could be in your personal life, that you look back and say, that was no fun, but I'm kind of glad it happened?
Yeah, so when I was working in the parts store, I accelerated very fast in that realm because of my background, my knowledge, and commercial sales, and grew that. And I got promoted very quickly through that ranks. And when you're young and you get promoted, and all of a sudden you have a company car and you have a company credit card and you're doing all these things, you're like, man, this can't get any better. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And now I'm going, okay, I'm used to this lifestyle. I'm used to this income. I'm used to having my own car or company car. Now I have to start over. So it was one of those things where you get humbled and you go, okay, I did this once. I can do this again. And I had to go to another company and start as an entry level and build my way up and prove myself, and got back to that outside sales role, to having a company car. And that's really what led me into the position that I'm in, is I was able to meet the right people through the right channels to be able to get to where I am. And it's one of those things where, you think you're at your top, and then you go, it doesn't get any better than this. And you have to start over. And you go, man, where did it go wrong? What did I do wrong? You start thinking about, it's my fault. I did something wrong. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is. But you can't just stay down there. You got to get yourself back up.
So how would you advise a young person today that's in that position? Everything's going great. They're making money. Life's good. They got a mortgage, probably too big of a mortgage. They've got too fancy of a car, probably too big of a car payment. How would you advise them to look forward? Because as I said earlier, the rainy days come. I've lived through 4 major rainy days at this point in my life when it comes to things that really were out of my control. The economy came along and just, dumped on you. How would you advise a young person listening today so they can be better prepared?
Yeah, I think that from an automotive background and having an automotive education, especially if you've been in this field for a little bit, this field is so big. There are so many things you could do. And if you do get knocked down, get back up and go, wait a minute, there are so many options I can do in automotive. I can sell stuff. I can fix stuff. I can buy stuff and flip stuff. And don't get discouraged if the path that you thought was right for you doesn't happen, because that next path may get you to a better place than you ever imagined you could be. Whoever thought that I would be running a national company all over the U.S. with this many employees? I'm just a dumb mechanic that fixes cars.
I kind of doubt that, Chad, but I understand what you're saying is don't underestimate yourself and be able to get up and dust yourself off and really look around. I mean, that's what this show, when I started the podcast here, it was all about that, is showing people that wish they could work in the automotive world like you and I do, that there are so many opportunities. And when I look back at the over 2,500 shows I've done now and all the different facets of people all over the world doing things in the automotive sector, even I get surprised from time to time. And I mentioned you're involved and have been part of SEMA. I've been to SEMA many, many times. And when you walk through a show like SEMA and you see all the different possibilities, I've always thought if you wanted to work in the car industry, you should go to the SEMA show and walk around. And there are just so many opportunities there for potential careers. If you want to start a business, I want to do one like that. How do I do that? So I hear to me, that's what you're telling us.
Oh, absolutely. Never burn a bridge. And always keep your opportunities open.
Yeah. And make connections, meet people, talk to people, build that, here's an old term, Rolodex, context list these days, but build that Rolodex full of people. Because one thing I've also learned is in the automotive industry, and I wondered if you've seen this too, it's a rare industry where people really like to help other people. And I think it's because we're all working in our field of passion, not just a way to make money.
Oh, absolutely. So actually, I was just on a call with what would be considered a competitor of mine last week. And they said, hey, we're struggling with this. I was like, oh, you need to go talk to these people. It's a big industry, but people don't usually leave this industry. They just kind of move from, different places. So being able to help out a colleague in the automotive industry to help them get a problem solved, that always comes back. And it's just good karma to be able to work with those kind of guys.
Yeah, it's really true. After having done so many shows over 10 plus years, I've had guests come back that are now working in the automotive sector, but something completely different. Maybe they expanded their business. They went into another field. Last week, I had a guest on the show that was 2 weeks ago, I think now, Jeff Nowak, and he's now working in a business where he helps young people find jobs in the automotive sector. Before, he was working in marketing in the automotive sector, but found a way to help others doing that way. So yeah, I love this industry. When you think about the future for you, is there something on your bucket list you'd really like to do?
I'm living a blessed life right now, getting to hang out with the kids and go out and do things and travel with work. So right now, my bucket list in business is really just focused on the brand recognition of TopDon and being able to be the crescent wrench or to be the Kleenex of the diagnostic world. That's been a dream of mine, to be able to build a brand and to be able to make that brand known, that when someone says, oh, TopDon, oh yeah, I've heard of that. That's on my bucket list right now.
So let's talk about cars. I know you love cars like I do. Is there one special vehicle in your past that stands out?
I have a truck that haunts me.
That haunts you.
Yes. So I don't know, age 10, 12, something like that. Me and my dad would go to the racetrack every weekend in his 78 Chevy C10. And we would strap a couple 2x4s to the front bumper and we would go push start sprint cars at the racetrack.
Oh, fun.
So young kid sitting in the passenger seat, getting to drive around the racetrack, starting all these sprint cars, all these wing sprints. And my dad bought that truck brand new, and we drove the wheels off of it. And then in 1999, I took the truck apart in the intention of restoring it. That truck now sits in my shop 24 years later, and just now getting to put it back together. So that truck has so much history and so many memories in it. That's a truck that stays with you.
Well, that thing called life gets in the way, right? Especially when you have 3 children. That keeps you very busy. So I've no doubt you'll finally get that thing put back together. But it's a fun story. I love when folks have their parents' old vehicles and they found a way to reintroduce them into their life and rebuild them. But sometimes they take a little while, right? 24 years. Wow.
Unfortunately, I'm only missing 2 things to get it done. Only 2 things.
Okay.
Time and money.
Oh, okay. The toughest things. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, absolutely. I understand. Been there, done that many times. So I'm going to crawl in your head a little bit. I like to play car psychologist. If you were reincarnated as a vehicle, manifest as a vehicle, what would you be and why?
Oh, this one is probably one of the most common vehicles that you get quoted on, I would say. If I was reincarnated as a vehicle, I would be a Subaru Baja.
Okay. That's kind of unique. Why a Subaru Baja?
Okay, so if we think about a Subaru Baja, it's four-wheel drive. It can go anywhere. It's turbocharged. It's fast. It's got four doors, so you can take the family with you. And it's a truck. It'll do anything you want it to do. So it's really the best of all worlds, right? It's like a Swiss Army knife of cars. And that's kind of neat.
It's a unique car. My wife and I take walks every day, and it's funny you mentioned that vehicle because I just don't see them around very much. And we were walking down one of our streets here in the neighborhood, and one of those was in the driveway, and she said, "What is that?" And I went, "Oh my gosh, that's an old like mid-2000s Subaru Baja. I haven't seen one of those in a long time." And she goes, "Well, it looked like a car trying to be a truck." I said, "Yeah, I think you nailed it."
Yeah, sometimes you just got to be everything to everyone.
There you go. Good answer to that. I know that your company, Top Don, likes to give back. And one of the things I noted was you guys are a gold sponsor of the University of Toronto Formula Racing Team. And also I saw that your sponsorship, you guys powered the build of an EV and an autonomous Formula student race car created by the University of Toronto, Formula SAE Racing Team. Could you talk a little bit about that and how you're helping those guys?
Yeah, this was absolutely a unique opportunity for us. And when we look at automotive and how we can impact the automotive industry, the students and the next generation is really that big thing. And so we partnered with the University of Toronto. They're building a formula car, and there's two different versions of it. One is a formula car to drive, and another one is to be able to be autonomous. So we provided some support in tools and equipment, but also financially to be able to encourage those students to be able to do the next thing and then take the next step and to really push the limits of design and what you can do. We love the student aspect because they're not burdened by all the experiences that some of our more seasoned engineers have. Oh, that won't work because of this. Let's go out there and try it. Let's go break some stuff and figure out how to fix it. And having that ingenuity, that's hard to find. So partnering with the University of Toronto really gave us that opportunity to push that limit and to support the students at the same time.
That's very cool. How about great books? Is there a book you'd like to share with our listeners?
So I do a lot of reading, and a lot of the stuff I do is self-development stuff, just trying to make myself a better person.
Perfect.
I could not decide between these two books, but...
Well, give us two then.
They're pretty much the same concept. And so Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh, yeah.
And The Millionaire Mentor. So both of these books are about, the people in your life and who are you taking your advice from. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talks about how his dad was amazing, but his dad didn't know how to get to the next step as far as monetary goes. How do we become more stable financially? And so he had a rich dad that helped him through that and to make the right decisions. So those two books are kind of on that same line of make sure you know who you're associating with because they can get you where you want to be.
Yeah, great. I mean, that's such a classic, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and The Millionaire Mentor by Greg Reed, I believe, is the author of that book. Both great books and great books to hand off to people. I gave my kids copies of Rich Dad, Poor Dad back in the day, and Millionaire Mentor is another good one. So thanks for two great books to the Cars Yeah book guide. In fact, I'll remind listeners there's a place on the website called Guest Recommended Books where there's over 3,000 books listed there that are recommended by my inspiring automotive enthusiast guests. So check them out. Plus, quick, easy links to buy. So there you go. So before I let you go today, Chad, I'm going to take you on what I call the ultimate drive, and I'm paying the way. So don't worry about the cost. I'm going to provide you with any vehicle in the world. You can take it anywhere in the world, and you can take anybody in the world with you or somebody that's no longer with us, which opens up another world of opportunity. So what does the ultimate drive look like for a guy like you?
I would love to travel New Zealand.
Oh, yeah.
I think that New Zealand has some breathtaking views. You can be on-road, off-road, mountains, beach, whatever you wanted to do. I had to narrow it down, unfortunately. I would take my son Corbin, who is currently 13, and he is just an absolute sponge for anything outdoors or off-road or anything along those lines. And he's just an absolute pleasure to be with. So he would be my co-pilot.
And if I could give you any vehicle, again, don't worry about the cost because I'm going to write the check. What kind of car would you like to be in? And New Zealand, what a great choice. I mean, to me, that country has everything. And I knew some people that moved there actually and said it reminded them of Southern California back in the 70s. Just had a vibe about it. And I have a good friend who's actually been a guest on the show here. He's a builder of historic race cars who grew up there. So beautiful place. But what kind of vehicle am I going to put you and Corbin in?
So I'm thinking, okay, we're going to be on road. We're going to be off road. What's the right vehicle to be able to make the trip fun? Mm-hmm. And when you're out of the U.S., you got to go with a Toyota Hilux. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Absolutely. And there's some people that build those things up too into some pretty wild off-road and on-road vehicles. So, boy, it sounds like a wonderful adventure for sure. My listeners have heard this before, but my son was 8. He and I flew from the Pacific Northwest down to Long Beach and picked up a little Beck Spider that John Wilhoit, who's a builder of Porsche cars, had built, and we drove that back up the coast. And he still talks about that. And today he's about to turn 31 here. So, yeah, it is a special memory for sure. Go out and do that one day with Corbin. And the sooner the better, especially at 13 when he still wants to be around Dad and he's not off with his buddies all the time. So there you go. I have had a great time talking to you, Chad, and I can't thank you enough for taking time and teaching us more about TopDon. Of course, they're easy to find. TopDon, TOPDON.us is the website. Check them out. Could you leave us with some parting words of wisdom or advice?
Well, I kind of touched on this a little bit earlier in our conversation, and I think the biggest thing that always reminds me or always hangs with me is you are who you associate with. You think about a bad apple and a bucket of good apples. Those good apples aren't going to make that bad apple good. So you are who you associate with. Make sure you're surrounding yourself with people who are where you want to be.
Yeah, there's a great saying, we are the culmination of the top 5 people we spend most of our time with. And that ties right into what you said. And it's so, so true. So absolutely be careful who you spend your valuable time with. Hang out with people, as my mom used to say, hang out with people that are smarter than you and better than you and faster than you, because you'll learn from them. So great advice, Mom. I want to do a shout out thank you to our mutual friend Scott Black at Timepiece PR for introducing me to Chad. So Scott, thank you very much. Chad, thank you for being so generous today with your time and your expertise and sharing your inspiration. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on, and go out and break something.
Okay, I'll do that right now. Are you ready to take charge of your financial future? Then let me introduce you to Capitalize Your Finances. It's an online course designed to empower you with the knowledge and tools for mastering your money. This course will help you lay out the ins and outs of budgeting, the importance of emergency funds, investing strategies, and how to plan for a secure retirement. All this presented by financial planner Chris Paniotu. Chris has developed this course to help you effectively navigate your world of finance with confidence. Stop stressing about money and start taking control. Enroll in Capitalize Your Finance online course today and pave your way to financial success. To learn more, go to capitalizepodcast.com/courses, or better yet, go to the Cars Yeah website, show notes page for today's show, and click on the link under Capitalize Your Finances. You'll be glad you did. Do it today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.